understand and a few last week on crisis management. So I think the stage is really set to talk. And therefore, any case study, it gives you the benefit as students to analyze what are the deeds, what are the misdeeds, what went right, what went wrong, and that's based on your opinion. Today I will try to give you, I superannuated as the Director, Legal and Company Secretary of Nestle last September, but Nestle is very much still in my blood. So pardon me if I keep using the word my company or those sort of phrases. And as far as interjecting or having any clarifications, please ask there and then. I have used some shorter abbreviations and all that. So 1983, some of you may not have and we live and if you hungry, what is it that she can make which is convenient, which is quick, and which can. There came Maggi. At that time you had Chinese noodles, as we say. The 2 minutes promise, and as I said, it could be adapted. You could add vegetables, you could add, the mother could add anything else that she wanted. Although I see nowadays the variants of Maggi that are available are amazing, it's innovation at a different level. And I would say that initially you would be surprised, or it's not a surprise, it didn't take off. The product didn't take off. Because you see, it was something new. And it takes time for habits to be formed. It's not that you launch a new product and people much of pressure on answer for the financial results. Surname, IE, which is not the case. And the other very important tagline is 2 minutes noodle. And if you see here, it's used with Maggi, and it's used for all, I would say, the right and wrong reasons. Let's say a batsman gets out, he goes and comes back, it was a Maggi inning. Or then they will show, that he's going, bus 2 minutes. Brand, ultimately, with, I would say, the most powerful thing in the Maggi has been the masala taste maker. And that really, that is a saying that it is the tall trees which catch the wind. And success doesn't mean that you will not fall. And that is what I would like to share here today with you. So when Maggi tripped or was stuck, or turnover it had at that point of time, it had a market share of close to 80%. And I would say here the brand equity rated it as the most trusted food, 98% trust, consumer trust. That's when the issue happened. And when I see and Maggie, where consumers have been asked to share their Maggie moments, and it was right across the whole. In college life, I think amongst the most convenient things to have in your rooms, dish they made for their spouse was a Maggie, because that's something they could feel they were able to make. So therefore, had 25% represented 25% of the company's turnover, and the best order opener. I have Maggie, chances are very high that he will be ready to stock it. And on the basis of Maggie, other Nestle products find their way. How do you go? Because there you can't have very high price products. So Maggie was very convenient, because you had a Chotu Maggie at 5 rupees. And that was sort of a perfect entry point, based on which other products of the company could also get into the market. So it had a very huge role beyond being just 25% of the turnover. It was manufactured at 5 out of the 7 factories that we then had, and about 4,500 directly employed people were there. I mean, if you go indirect employment, it will go in multiples. It will go in multiples when we talk about whether it is within the company or in the entire ecosystem. And it was, so top 3 wheat producers, about underlying that about 4,000 farmers, wheat farmers were involved. 1,500 distributors, cash distributors. Now, you know how the FMCG works? Have an idea? Yes, good. So basically a distributor is the sale that the company makes to the distributor, and from the distributor it normally goes to the retailer, or there could be another sub distributor, wholesaler or whatever, but the company sells the product to the distributors. They are responsible for distributing for their respective geographies. And at that time, beyond that, there were thousands of vendors, because wheat is not the only thing that it uses. It uses spices, it uses packaging, it uses salts, blah blah. I mean, like there are many this thing. So this is what was the situation. Broadly to say that the footprint was much beyond just the turnover of the company. I will for here, because to get you on what the problem was, what the controversy was, there are 2 things you need to know a little bit. Glutamate is amongst the abundant amino acids in nature, broadly. FSSAI stands for the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. I have used that acronym here, shorter form, but we will call it Food Authority in future. I mean, it's like we relaunched in 2015 itself. The Food Authority came out with an order on the wheat, vegetables. Out of this you can see clearly wheat and spices anyway are there in Maggi noodles. MSG is sodium salt of glutamic acid and a form of glutamate. So what happens is that when the glutamate interacts with the salt in the composition, it becomes monosodium glutamate. That's what it happens. And the most important thing, and that's what we were telling, there is no analytical method. If you test the product, you can only, or it is naturally present. And therefore the FSSAI finally said that look, the only way you can figure this out is by visiting the premises of the manufacturers, whether MSG is actually being added. And it was all along our case that we are not adding MSG, it is naturally present. And therefore, if we say no added MSG, it's not a misdeclaration. And the law required at that point of time that in case it contains MSG and it is not recommended for infants below 12 months. So therefore, it's not students, they add MSG, to some it may not suit. You may get giddy and things like that, then you say, so this was what the requirement was, and at that relevant point of time in 2015, there was a declaration on the back of the pack. This is how it was. Sorry, this is the best possible. I have put a round circle there. That's where it was. Now, any guesses why we put something like that there? Claim. If I want to say my product has no added MSG, as marketeers, where would you put that statement? This was done mainly for the food inspectors, because they will pick up the food with the requirement of the box declaration, that if you add MSG, you have to say this contains this has added MSG, interpreted it, which comes from the food chain. Just that it has to be within Safety and Standards Act and regulations. They specified that various types of food can have, and then there was all other categories, that if it is not anywhere, then you can go up to 2.5 parts per million. As the spice inside, the seasoning inside was to comply with 2.5. Everyone can do, and it has to be in sterile conditions. Let's say if you keep the product open, of the packaging, how it is stored is very important, and you shouldn't do it after a long time. You should do it immediately as you open the pack. Sophisticated test, the equipment, they have to be properly calibrated. It is not that like a thermometer, you put something and you will get the equipment has to be proper for laboratories to be accredited, and there the accreditation is specific. They will say cereals so much. You can do in cereals, you can do in spices, you can do in milk. That's the level of detail. So if you are an expert in milk, let's say titration process is used. Some of you who know chemistry, here where nitric acid is used, come from there. So these things all are very important, and the accreditation basically tries to take care that if I am giving you, I said for every article it has, and it has to be renewed every 2 years. It's not that once you get an approval, you are there, and every time they will things from outside come in to which can cause issues, and the proficiency of the laboratory. So from there we come to the stage where I would say a place called Barabanki, which is about an hour from Lucknow. That's where it is. Those of you laboratories, they declared a sample manufactured, misbranded. And why they said it is misbranded? They chose to ignore our no added MSG declaration. They used it on the converse, I'll tell you. They basically say, when MSG is present, how can you say no added MSG? This was their case. And misbranding under the law, in a situation like this, you are the brand managers, would you want to pay the fine? Why? Yes, you are accepting, and you have to first accept that yes, it's a violation, and food law, every pack is a source of potential violation. So if you accept one, so it was not an option. So under law, you are allowed to file an appeal to the referral laboratory. There are 4 of them in India, and this one, as per the law, went to Kolkata, and they went a step further. They said not only is it misbranded because we find MSG and you are using the declaration, but the lead is also beyond permissible limits. And when they tested the product, it was somewhere in 2014. Second, the sample, they took about 3 months to check. When I am saying that, how do you know when the sample was opened, what were the conditions? So lot of doubts raised around that, but these all information we got later. You don't get it at the time when the thing hits you. But they said it's got lead, and they came with a humongous figure against 2.5. They said it's got 17.2 ppm, means about close to 8 times more. Failed, and considering that it was so high, the lead, they reported it to the food authority. We could at that stage only show our analysis. See, every company has its own analysis, both of the inputs, on the goods that are going out also have checks, but that wouldn't be every batch. It's like not practical. You do it periodically. So we went to them and showed this, but that did not impress them, and they filed a prosecution, because under law, if it is unsafe, then there is a criminal liability. Here it is unsafe because the lead is beyond the permissible limit. Whereas the misbranding is not a question of safety of the product. There you could have paid a fine, filed for cheating and selling adulterated products against celebrities. We had at that time Madhuri Dixit, who was endorsing the product, but whoever filed these complaints wanted to, or people who want to be in the limelight and try to make a living out of that. Let me put it that way. So, and then they said that's also not enough. We will also include the management of the company. So there was pressure coming. See, like let's say, and I think this was amongst the first cases where a celebrity was targeted. And I'll come to you in the next slide what we did, because that's something that would be interesting for you to know. So food jurisdiction, they said, please sample and test Maggi noodles in your respective territories. And obviously this led to a lot of harassment to the trade, customers, like you'll have teams landing up there, literally you're going to pick up a sample, no? But they will say, here authorities always like to do 1 plus 1 is equal to 5, not 2, because they said, oh, it's banned. Why are you selling? You have been only asked to take a sample, but the ground level implementation was much more intense than what the instruction was. And the first set of reports which we did not receive, the Delhi government directed suspension of sale. They did not ban it. They were the first, but they asked us to suspend the sale. And here the reasoning was that the state laboratory has found lead in seasoning beyond the levels. But in the cake it was okay. Talking common sense, and which should work legally also. Noodle cake is 90% of volume. Test the seasoning separately, we will test the cake separately. So that was Delhi for you. What did the company do? Stakeholders, the authorities, the food authorities, especially, because telling them why our product has naturally occurring MSG. Our test reports that we have, and we also are getting those tests done in accredited laboratories, show that the product has lead with trade customers. Now, see, when you are talking to trade, they are being hounded by the authorities, visiting them, especially organized trade. You had to see that the sale continues. At the same time, you are giving support to whether it's the distributors. So the product that is exported normally is always labeled differently. It is the same product but labeled differently. Then you have celebrities. I go away, I withdraw from endorsing Maggi. As for the brand, it would have how the product is safe, how she will not come into any sort of problem, and if that were something that the company will, that they have charged you, why would you indemnify? But here this was not that sort of typical situation. So it was very important that we get our brand, the celebrities, to stay with us. You'd all recall, I don't want to comment on the ethicality of it. Some of the celebrities endorse colas and then they go that, oh, we didn't endorse the right product. Press releases to say that, and that authority gives a phone call. When we go there, they say, and no added MSG, just oral. You are saying, thought at that time for you to go ahead, so that they feel they are right. So we said it's not a big thing, we'll drop the no added MSG. And you can, not against you ever, I would say. and someone who always wants the
led, and Ashok Pandit, just consider this. But what is
How have we led? How have we allowed 30 years of Maggie to be on the shelf?
What is shocking? What is shocking is the attitude of the company. Down, Ashok Pandit. 1 second. My question is very simple, Mr. Pandit. If tomorrow, in some distant part, packet of Maggie was found to have 1% more lead, it would have... No, 1 second. Would there be even a debate over it?
Hysteria that he manages to create, and I didn't play that part where he even refers to the Bhopal gas tragedy. That was the level. And if you see, over 10,000 articles were published, and 2005 news, important news, no G20, no women reservation bill, no demonetization, nothing like that, no big topic. So this took the headline at that point of time, and based on frenzy, half information, wrong misinformation, where there was a very difficult choice for the company. Before that, that's what our is targeted for the consumer. Now, you consumers, how will you decide on this divergent? On the other hand, you have a brand that has been trusted for 35 years. How many of you would go with the regulator? Raise your hands. You'll believe the regulator. Yeah, so majority of you, rightly so, I think we will believe the regulator. Why would we trust the company when there is a question with the regulator? So that led us to see what are the options before us. The authorities, this was one option. The positive news, positive is that it gives an assurance to the company, to the consumers, that the company stands for quality and it stands by the quality of its products. It's sure, irrespective of what's happening. On the negative side, so many of you said you believe the regulator. Am I living up to the image of consumer trust? Am I acting like a responsible and articles? And with that every day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, what is the impact on the brand and its image for its safety? Option B we had was to voluntarily withdraw the product and return back when the situation becomes okay, when we are able to bring together the two diverging positions. The positives seen as a responsible action because there is a confusion in the product, the consumer would see as a responsible action. It provides time to address the divergence. At that point of time, if we said anything about the state laboratories, we would be hauled up, provided time to adjust things. Negative, Indian consumers not used to voluntary withdrawal of the product at all, especially in the food segment. And the normal thinking is so this was one of the major negatives. And when you are not the hatchback and cost and mammoth exercise. When I say mammoth exercise, it involves logistics from the retailer to or wholesaler, wherever it is, to the distributors, to the company. And that was, I would say probably this is the largest ever product recall that has happened. And second, the system itself, your sales force is earning margins on selling the product, and here you are saying give me back. So the whole, even the way you look at it, guesses there. Yes, we had to go for the voluntary withdrawal, and but at least we trusted in India over 30 years. You see the important things that we said here, both from a consumer communication as well as from a legal perspective. It is safe, trusted, and that the consumer safety and trust is our first priority. recent developments, unfounded concerns, because this is what the company believed, they were unfounded concerns. Keep reassuring the consumer the product is not unsafe. This is purely because of the confusion which is there, and that we will be back as soon as the situation is clarified. This was, I would say, within a few hours, followed by and they came to a conclusion that it has been found unsafe and hazardous. They came to this conclusion for human consumption and stopped further manufacture, production and distribution. And 30 had failed. As per in their laboratories, 42 samples were okay. And second, only 3 variants were checked in those 72 samples, and they asked us to stop all the 9 variants. US FDA regulations, and there is a question and answer there, where they say that that was not the situation in India. If there were regulations, we would comply. Here the regulations were, if you add MSG, you put that, the withdrawn. And the Maharashtra also, there were state ban orders also, as if the central was not enough. They had a all India jurisdiction, but Maharashtra did, and some other states also did ban the order, this thing, noodles. So then we come to the journey of getting the product back. First thing we did, as I said, there was a recall order, and this was a mammoth, unheard, not heard in supply chain ever. So we had a meeting with the food authorities, how to do it. Like there were stored, and they were all sent to cement factories for environmentally safe destruction. So that was the route that was there. They were from the retailers, distributors, they would come to the company warehouses, from where they will go to the cement kilns for destruction. So we minuted this by High Court on 11th of June. You can see the speed at which we have worked. Fifth an order, and at that time we had and that original Calcutta one, not and the big issue here for you as business people, for your products, for your approvals, and here you are taking that we try do the case. So we also decided that the state ban order first hearing took place on 12th of June. Huge media coverage. We didn't realize we had all the OB vans and all, and there was no stay that was granted, obviously, because we are already were withdrawing the product. So the court was careful in telling, if you say something like that, you first tell the company, tell them, give them 72 hours notice, and then take coercive action, because otherwise it could have been hell of a different nature. Then the next, and I think this was a very, exports was not a significant part of the turnover. So we said it's a good leverage to get the court approval, because by that time we had Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, all these countries clearing the product. They didn't have problems. The products which we have exported earlier, they were cleared by them. So we sought permission. So the other side, every time we will tell the media, everyone, because it was being reported. So in a sarcastic way, the food authority lawyer said, why should they, if they are... So we got the permission of the court to send the product abroad. And like after that, countries like UK, now not so famous Canada, all of them cleared the product, and that added to the consumer dialogue and rebuilding. I would say this was the first level at which the wind changed, because everyone started questioning, if the product is okay abroad, how come it is a problem only in India? And the food authority, after agreeing to the recall procedure in prosecutions against you, so they made this very serious allegation of destruction of evidence. And not new, but corner for the media there. And therefore, after, as I said, the first hearing itself, we learnt that you have a point of view. Like, as I was saying, our lawyer has to, like a parrot, we would say, please talk about the product safety, please talk about the destruction of safe food and things like that, so that the messaging, along with whatever happens in the court also, here itself, tweets will come, literally. So I used to sit in the court, we used to also look at the tweets, and if there is something which, so, and then 13th of August, I would say unheard of. I mean, all of you know how long court cases take in India. Filing on 11th of June, I would say we attribute this to corporate karma, like our karma. There must be something right, corporate karma, that we got a set of judges who knew food law, because that helped a lot. If you know the law, you can interpret it better. Secondly, they saw the urgency of this, that, the afternoon they used to have. So I would say that's how it got speeded up. So it was a landmark judgment, but two principles which you will understand. One, they said that the principles of natural justice had been violated, that the test results were not valid under law. Why? Because they were conducted in laboratories, none of which were accredited. So when you don't have an accreditation, which was concerned about the public health, and therefore you will manufacture, and this by following a two-stage testing of the Nestle has any stake or does. And if you do a two-stage test, one of the existing samples that we had stored from what was manufactured, that particular variant, you will again test it for lead. If it is again in these laboratories found to be okay, you will be able to launch the product. This was the two-stage testing that they did, and there was, or it would have been, and we relaunched the product. Again, new news, I would say new milestones, that raw material, in fact you could do things differently for a launch. It was amazing that a product banned, you had a judgment on, because everything was over to relaunch the product. It was a fantastic effort. And then we had representations and dialogue with the state authorities to lift the ban basis the Bombay High Court judgment. We said, look, the product is safe, the laboratory results are not valid. We have retested the product as they have said, it is safe, so why don't you allow us to relaunch? That's how it said. And with this, I'm going pretty fast. Okay. Communication. If you see, we had this in two buckets, I would say. One is in absentia, that is when Maggi noodles was not there, and then when Maggi noodles was back, tests yet to be done. Normally, I think all you would have learnt, you don't advertise a product when it is not on the shelf. Would you advertise? So, but tell the consumers who are so linked with the brand, missing the brand, and keep the emotional legal part that while the ban is lifted, the product yet is not cleared for sale. So you will see here, just see this.
मैंने अपनी को देखकर करना पड़ा।
the product. When next results were declared, and it was very important now because this test, as I said, were in accredited independent labs as per the direction court appointed laboratories and to allay the fears. And we did this obviously not only through print and TV, but we went further. We even uploaded all these results on the website for consumers, anyone to add we had. And on the right hand side you see basically what are the more mention of good, relaunch, resume when we talk about Maggie. And you would see the communication was very simple. Your Maggie has been, is safe. And the more important line has always. And then you see there is the whole story which goes that for 32 years we have loved.
सोनू जब दबे पांव आकर मैगी पर उसे करने देती थी बच्चों को थोड़ा
Now here this was a very interesting approach that the business took, was done through Snapdeal, and we had about 50,000 packs which we offered for, and it was gone messaging. It gave publicity. That was sorry. Coming to the last part, obvious to you, doctor has only last week taken a session on the crisis, but it will be a good thing to reiterate and go through them again. Chairman and Managing Director, and so this part is pinched from him because I think he. So the first set, I would say, opportunity in every adversity. If there is an opportunity, embrace the diversity. It's not an easy path. You will have people who may want to run away, but there is more to learn. The regular stuff, you can also handle adversity. So it's a great opportunity, I would say. Do not be afraid of uncertainties. Life is full of uncertainties. We are in a VUCA world anyway. I think the thing is to be afraid of uncertainties. Teamwork and achievements will drive credibility. Now here I think the paradox, I would say, that especially in the initial years, and your performance is more relevant for your career. That's what the perception becomes. You need, right from not only within your team, let's say you're in the marketing, not only your team, you need support from the sales, you need support from the manufacturing, you need support from the supply chain, you need support from finance. The achievements will be of the team. But as they say, if the team wins, the leader wins. If the leader wins, the organization wins. So it's something which is very important, and collaboration. And always strive for the can do rather than will try. Or Gantt charts on how to achieve it. But that may not necessarily get you there. This is a situation like a house on fire. If I am saying that I need to call the fire engine and you prepare a Gantt chart on how the fire engine will come, that's not going to help. So this is a place where you have to have people who don't only, and nothing new for you. I think people are at the center of everything you do. And it becomes even more relevant in a situation like this. And it's very important in these sort of situations to engage with the people. And when you engage, you are able to allay their fears, you are able to do things to comfort them and build their confidence also. And this is not only about engaging with your people within the company. Stakeholders are there. Outside stakeholders, this could include authorities, this could include regulators, so on, so on, so on. And always have a plan B ready. You never know whether it will work or not. So in this plan B. And I think this is another very important attitude of not losing your winning spirit ever. It is the attitude, very important, that you should have which are there. But that doesn't mean that you don't go forward. You have to still try to do the best. But we are going there, we are getting there. But winning spirit has to be not going. Very important to keep eyes on the reality. Like I may say that you can put three types of people. One who say nothing, कुछ भी ना कहो, प्रॉब्लम है तो चुप रहो बिल्कुल. Second, naysayers, नहीं हो सकता. I would say that crowd in a limited size is good, because you will come up with new ways to address the challenge. नहीं हो सकता, you look at something, this thing, so that you come with options. Third, and I would say the most dangerous, the jingoistic people, and at your door. Ultimately, you have to resolve it, and therefore you will have to, based on all the inputs, the advice, blah blah. Communication, most important, especially when there is a problem, the tendency is not to communicate. You feel like keeping quiet, not saying much. But it's very important that you have this communication and find events to celebrate. There may be small events, but the communication being there, I think also reduces a lot of whatever the situation, within whatever the corridor you are able to communicate, whether through video calls, whether through town halls, through meetings, whatever it takes. And in all this, I think keeping your values is very important, because see, let me say, you are tempted at times to do things differently because of the intensity of the situation, but it is very important to keep your values and have the larger purpose of why you are there, the purpose. And and from your career perspectives also, each of you, you have your value systems. If what you do is aligned with your values, it's going to help. Whereas listen, very difficult one. I think many of us speak, and in a situation, a magic wand would be the most foolhardy thing in any situation, and more so in a crisis situation. So listen to everyone, and obviously you are there after that to take the decision, and stay connected to people. I mean, like, it's like to all the stakeholders. It's not that you one day you meet a particular set of, and above all, be human. And what does being human mean? You behave in a way that you would like to be treated. See, in a situation of crisis, there's huge challenges, but try to be human and see it from the perspective of the Maggie came back. As I was saying, everyone did over beyond their call of duty. The factory or the distributors going beyond their call of duty. Why was everything all the people? Your people give that back to you. So that was my last slide. Good questions. So yes.
So sir, my two questions to you straight away. Number one, as many of our marketing classes, we have got cases related to Maggie. And one very important thing which I came to know about is the co-creation. So how it actually helped you to actually bring Maggie back to the same level after the crisis? How this co-creation helped? There was again a claim made on Maggie regarding the cup noodles, using the term yo. I think.
Yeah, yo.
Yeah.
We had, yeah.
So how you dealt, because you formed the part of the legal team, how you dealt with that issue? So I have these two questions.
But then you have to use it judiciously. I would say if you do it all the time,
It loses. as quickly as possible. And yes, once we got back, like I always used to joke with our position, all that, what debating sort of input is not going to, you are going to rather we say anything. Because the moment you this way, so you are left with nothing. Yeah. They were impacted, but not that severely. Like, they are not much at it. See, if you really see, I mean, and that was reflected in the way we used to get from consumers. So, fortunately, I think the consumer was with us. But yes,
Sir, instead, when the Maggie came back through reverse logistic, it fully obliged.
no,
to
you
that.
are very right. See, I'll tell you. 35,000 tons is what it doesn't make sense.
The demand was not there actually.
Huh?
The demand was not.
No, see, it's like you export. Basically, Maggi goes mainly to Indian diaspora wherever they are. I mean, that is the main consumer base. So, it's not that big, this thing. I mean, and you have to export means someone has to consume, no? So, that was.
I love the whole presentation, sir. I just had one question. During this stint of, let's say, 6 to 7 months, what was the company's reaction to the competitors? Because they would have seen this as an opportunity to bounce back in the market. So, during this time, were you doing anything to resist the competition or any other strategy like that?
See, unfortunately, there was not much we could do at that time because you were not there and your product was unsafe till declared safe by the court. So, what is it you can do? I mean, you have to only wait other than because I can't control competition. And for this thing, at that time also, Baba Ramdev was also launching his noodles. And there is a lot of what you can conjectures that all this happened because of that also. But logo, no, two birds and the nest. ये पंछी अभी उड़ जाएगा, so भगा देंगे or whatever. So it was like we knew competition was there, but no. It didn't take off. It didn't. Huh? It is. I don't know if it is there now, but it's not there. Huh? They had launched an Atta variant. Atta. Yes. Anyone? Yeah. Please.
But did you have to manage the?
And I think that is something we have kept consistent all through the years here. Like I used to say, if there is a problem in a Nestle product, no other product but yes, I think if We could have probably escalated it a little faster. We didn't get into that line. Probably, I mean, again, properly going, not anyway.
In fact, on the verge of submitting my PhD dissertation, and the question
Time and my possible. But I think it is what work best.
You will see it won't be on your that Hindustan Unilever Limited or whatever. They are not going to say the brand which does it,
CSR, that it speaks about how companies leverage their
But
that we would definitely. So if a film, it will literally come to us as the storyboard level, because after you are shooting the film, if I say, oh, this is not okay, then you have a problem. So the storyboard level itself, we will see, we'll agree on the, if there is a claim or if there is something you are doing, let's say many things you have to be careful about projecting also for the society, all that. So you have to see a larger context when you are seeing an ad. So if it is on touching on any of those elements, ready for lunch.
Listening to you, and we look forward to much more engaging discussions.
Thank you.
Tomorrow also. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all of you for gracing this evening. and you can connect with sir for any more clarifications or on this particular topic. This is actually we have dealt this in our marketing primer in IPM and also in the product would be here.
Yeah.
So we will have much more engaging discussions with him. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
That time was very so what should we feel just before but what is so right because it was very tough. But Maggie is a lot there.
Maggie has recently tried to enter in that segment. How do you actually deal with the greenwashing claims made by people? Basically, if it's atta noodles, it's not because I have dealt with those kind of things. It's really evident you can't use atta only since for a longer time for a product like this. But my question is how you actually deal with those kind of people who come with a claim of greenwashing on Maggie?
See, the market people keep coming to say, look, X is doing this, Y is doing this. I can only tell what you can do. If it is a IP involved this thing, you have to deal with it. You have to be on it. And this is where I think consumer trust, it's a long game. It's not like even if someone does like that, they will have a temporary benefit. When things come out, then they stop. So, as you said, if it's atta noodle,
how much atta is there?
How much atta is there? You are, like in our case, majorities are there. Like it will be written there also.
Yeah.
So, and it will be ensured that it is there. But if you are, like today, bread, that's the biggest challenge. Many of us go and buy bread.
Brown bread.
Atta, no, whole wheat bread. Whole wheat. And
just read brown bread. It has caramel colors added inside.
And actually, I am told brown bread is not good. Compared, it's better to have a normal. As you say, it's only the color.
Yeah.
Color is caramelized sugar. Caramelized sugar, so you get sugar also.
It's actually dangerous.
That fast. Even though it is so much, like you try to say you can put in your regular vegetables, that is vegan, it's still not vegan.
It is taking time. See, the fact that that product again is something which has to fight with the spices. See, there is a, let me put it like this. It's like this is magic, masala magic. It's a little bit now, no, like our mother or traditional. What traditional? They will say, what is my masala? What is my masala? Whereas the newer generation, they will be willing to try.
Yeah.
So you have to literally wait for a generation change. But you have to be there at it. Then only you will, over a period of time, be able to get traction for the product.
Yeah. Any random thing you'll find Maggi masala.
No, but it will lift the taste. And
yeah, it does.
It's a flavor enhancement. Masala magic is something like 2012 or something.
They have also introduced something called Bhuna Masala.
Maggi Bhuna masala.
That is again a very good product, but I don't know whether they are
No,
doing it.
they did not say.